Israel and Palestinian militant group Hamas have agreed to extend their 4-day truce by another 2 days. Qatar, which mediated the deal, confirmed the extension hours before the ceasefire was due to end on Tuesday. The extension opens the way for the release of more Israeli hostages being held in Gaza in exchange for Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. Now, Israel has received a list of 10 more hostages to be released today. 69 Israeli foreign hostages have already been freed under the terms of the original deal between Israel and Hamas. In exchange, 150 Palestinian prisoners have been released from Israeli detention. Israel says 239 people were seized by Palestinian militants on October 7th. About 170 are believed to still being held in Gaza. On Monday, 11 hostages arrived back in Israel and have been reuniting with friends and family.
More Israeli hostages finally free. Women and children again made up the latest group to be released by Hamas. Their release filmed by the militant group before they were quickly escorted back to Israel and flown on to hospitals and waiting families.
This is an exciting and heart-filling moment, but we also understand that it is the beginning of a difficult rehabilitation process for Saharan areas who are still young and have been through an unbearable experience.
Dual nationals of France, Argentina and Germany were among those released, including French-Israeli Eitan Yahalomi, who was finally able to reunite with his mother. Palestinians are celebrating homecomings too, with 33 more women and young people released from Israeli prisons as part of the exchange.
It's an indescribable joy. I'm very happy. I hope that others will soon be released from Israeli prisons, my friends, my cousins.
150 Palestinian prisoners have been freed in recent days. A last-minute extension of the pause in fighting is expected to bring further releases on both sides. Israel has already received a list of 10 more hostages due to be freed by Hamas today. Israeli troops continue to patrol Gaza's border amid the truce, which is now set to expire on Thursday. But international pressure is growing for it to be extended even further.
Israel has received a list of more hostages due to be freed by Hamas as the truce extends into a 5th day. DW correspondent Tanya Kramer is covering the story from Jerusalem and told us more.
They have received a list of more hostages. We don't know exactly the number yet. So this is part of the extended truce agreement that was agreed upon on a Monday. So basically what is happening now is that the authorities here are reviewing this list and then they notify the families. Of course, this is good news for the families because it means now that potentially we will see at least 10 more hostages that would be expected to be freed later today in exchange for more Palestinian prisoners that also will be freed then later today.
Tanya, how did the extension of the truce come about and could we potentially see it extended further?
Well, I think both sides had signaled that they would be interested in extending the truce, each side, of course, for their own interest. So we've been seeing that the original agreement provided for this extension, saying that for each additional 10 hostages that Hamas could release and the willingness of Israel also to release more Palestinian prisoners, the truce could be extended for 1 more day. And this is what we've been seeing now. So it's just an extension for 2 days that has been agreed upon on Monday under the mediation by Qatar, Egypt, but also by the United States. Israel has said that they have now approved a list of 50 more potential Palestinian prisoners that could be released, putting it to 350 so far. They have 150 Palestinian prisoners they have released from Israeli prisoners, and Israel has also Hamas has also agreed to the same terms. But of course, it's all a very fragile process. I think there will be a lot of international pressure. We're also expecting that the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, is expected to arrive again in the region on Thursday, just when this new extension might expire. So, it's seen here day by day. Today, to see whether these hostages will be released without further delay, and then we have just to wait and see whether there will be another extension.
Okay, thank you. That's our Tanya Kramer reporting for us in Jerusalem. The truce in Gaza has been extended by 2 days, giving the people living there a temporary sense of relative calm and a better chance to access humanitarian aid. But aid organizations warn the situation for civilians across the Gaza Strip remains dire.
These kids brave the weather and still play outside. But the cool and rainy conditions are an additional burden for many in the makeshift shelters in Gaza.
The rain and cold have worn me out, and I can't do anything. My clothes are all wet, and I can't change them. I have no clothes, no food, no water. I haven't drank water in 2 days, and there's no bathroom to use.
And that worries aid organizations.
Then, of course, you've got hundreds of thousands of children who are not in school, who are in very overcrowded camps, who are cold, it's starting to rain, who do not have enough food, do not have enough water, who are now at risk of a disease outbreak. It's a horrendous situation.
Gaza's health service has been facing chronic shortages since the fighting started. As patients are transferred from the north to the south, hospitals there are overwhelmed.
The situation is very, very tragic. The hospital can't bear this burden of cases. There's no capacity. It means that the equipment is insufficient, tools and consumables are lacking, and there is a shortage of medical and nursing staff.
But thanks to the extended pause in fighting, some aid is getting to where it's needed.
I would say it's a glimpse of hope and humanity in the middle of the darkness of war. And I strongly hope that this will enable us to increase even more the humanitarian aid to the people in Gaza that is suffering so much, knowing that even with that additional amount of time, it will be impossible to satisfy all the dramatic needs of the population in Gaza.
These civilians have a lifeline, as long as the guns stay silent.
And I can now speak to CARE West Bank and Gaza Country Director Hiba Tibi, who joins me from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. Welcome to DW. There has been a surge in aid that's entering Gaza. Is it making a difference?
Good morning, dear. Yes, of course, it makes a difference. Every drop of water, every bag of wheat makes a difference. Unfortunately, since weeks now, we have been waiting for the moment where we can cover the needs of people on the ground in all Gaza Strip. And the level of hunger, the level of thirst, the level of diseases, the level of displacement is massive. Any entry of food assistance, of water, of medical supplies, of fuel will make a huge difference. But of course, it is not sufficient. What happened over the last 4 days, and of course, we were having the clock ticking towards the end of the day, everyone was terrified that the truce will not be extended. We were so relieved to have additional 2 days. But 2 days and 4 days and 10 days are not enough. A long-term ceasefire will allow for a more sustained intervention that would help in the covering of the needs of people in the north and in the south.
And Hiba, speaking of people in the north, is aid reaching them?
it is reaching them. Water has been distributed, but it's in a very, very limited quantities. And what we have seen over the last days is even if they receive the aid, it will be for that specific day or for the coming 2 days. So maximum 4 days. So for instance, if they are receiving bottled water, it will last only 4 days. What we hope is that, for instance, the fuel is entering Gaza in sufficient quantity where the desalination units fully functioning. There are also some attempts for the main unit in Gaza, which also makes a difference. There are also some wheat flour, as you can see on the report on the screen. Bakeries are opening again, but of course the quantities are limited and not enough for the demand that exists.
Winter is approaching in the region. So what needs to be done to mitigate the impacts of that cold and rainy weather for people, especially those who are displaced?
So normally in winter, whether we like it or not, we get diseases, we get our immune system gets a little bit affected by the weather. Imagine being in crowded places, lacking hygiene practices, with no medication. Malnutrition is happening across everywhere, and of course no way of energy to warm up the places, being under constant rain over the last week and we had over the last 2 days. Last week also we had lots of rain. All of that is unfortunately making the situation very terrifying, where we are very afraid that the spread of diseases is going to influence people's life as even more in a more dangerous way compared to bombing and airstrikes.
Hiba, we're almost out of time, but if you could just quickly tell me how your staff on the ground are preparing in case this truce is not extended.
What we have done so far is that we secured supplies in the north and in the south. Today, while we are speaking, these are being distributed. Our partners, my staff, are all on standby. We have secured water, bottled water, not in huge quantities, but it makes a difference, as I mentioned. Medical supplies for the hospital and what we call hygiene kits, in addition to shelter items, tents, blankets, any materials that would make the people at least under the cover from the direct train.
Right, we appreciate that. Hiba Tibi, she is CARE West Bank and Gaza Country Director. And all the best to your colleagues on the ground in Gaza. Thank you, Hiba.
Thank you.